Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, and however you choose to identify on this fine evening. I am Mike. If you can hear my voice and see my face, you know that it can only mean one thing. It is time once again for the worst 120 minutes or so in all sports. That's right. It is time once again for these Too Many Guys Soccer Show. I am joined as I am every show by my partner in all things podcasting, producer Stead. How goes it, sir?
It's going okay. I think what's going on right now is that reality is starting to set in, and the enjoyable times that lasted much longer than you expected them to appear to be coming to a close, which isn't entirely surprising. But, we shouldn't get too down because there's always a brighter day ahead, and all is not lost. And I'm sure we'll talk about that very, very shortly, but at least, we're getting the show in, which, the schedules have been tough the past couple of weeks. And but hopefully, hopefully we're not done yet. Hopefully we're not done yet.
I have no idea whether you're talking about the podcast or life or Arsenal. Like, what I am going to say
talking about all three, baby.
There was a discernible reason why we don't normally record on Wednesdays.
Mm-hmm.
And
you got another show.
Yeah, I got another show. And so I end up coming in here looking very, very homeless. And let me start with this. I have not cut my hair in about 7 months.
Wow.
And so
I think I cut mine every 7 days.
Now I'm at the point where I'm begging somebody, like an old school R. Kelly before or after, we don't know, but he wasn't on trial. But I'm like, can you braid my hair? I'm like begging people, can you braid my hair?
Yep.
So I finally got somebody. Hopefully next week this mop will be taken care of.
Yeah. You getting some rows?
Yeah, I'm getting some rows.
Yeah.
I'm getting some rows put in.
That'd be nice.
Yeah. But at least I won't look as homeless as I do today. I sincerely apologize to anybody who is looking at this, because not only do I not have my normal background up because I didn't have a chance to do it, but I'm looking extremely homeless. I am not. I'm recording a show, so which means that I do have a house that I live in. But brother, it's been rough.
Yeah.
We have a mouse.
Oh. Been there.
Mm-hmm.
Been there.
Yeah.
When you have one, you probably have 5.
I have put out traps like you would not believe.
Yeah.
I am sleeping on my couch. I'm gonna get you.
Yeah. Hey, look, we had them too. And, I butt up to some woods. I have a shed. I have a garage. There's lots of field mice out there. In fact, one day, after we were able to rid our home of the mice that were here, I had a 5-foot black snake come right through the door when I had the door open one evening. Just came right up. Boom.
Did you have it turned into a belt?
Actually, no. First of all, I caught the snake, old Bruce Lee style. I did the whole pillowcase over the hand and I grabbed it by his head. It's a black snake, so I wasn't gonna do that. Got it in the bag.
Did you not have it turned into a belt?
Of course not, because in fact, when I went to go release him, I stopped at the edge of my yard and said, you know what? You can stay right here. There's a bunch of little snakes out here. Why don't you help me, or excuse me, a bunch of little mice, got lots of food. Why don't you help me take care of this problem? You can stay right here, my friend. And if you took my advice, that black snake would be 20 feet long by now, because there was we got a lot of mice in the woods. There's always mice.
So, God rest her soul. My aunt had squirrels. that got into the attic.
Yeah, I had a squirrel once in my old house. Yeah.
So she called up my uncle. Bill, I got squirrels. So we went and got the squirrels. And he chased them out. And a couple months later, she goes, Bill. So I got squirrel. So he said he caught him and he put him outside the fence. So a couple months later, Auntie calls up, Bill, I got squirrels. You got to come and deal with them. Comes back over. Gets squirrels. Picks them up. Puts them like down the block. About 3-4 months later, Bill, I got squirrels. So now he's starting to get pissed. So he goes over, he catches a squirrel. Now he spray paints their backs orange.
You had to do that?
So he knows whether or not these are the same squirrels.
Yeah.
Takes them across the river. Drops them off. About 4 months later, the squirrels are back.
Mm-hmm.
So now he's really, really pissed. So he sets up traps. He gets the squirrels. Yeah, it's the same squirrels. So he gets the squirrels. He catches the squirrels. He kills the squirrels. Goes out, digs a pit, and buries them. Instead, I shit you not, 3 months later, Bill, you gotta come get these squirrels. Damn dogs dug them up.
Damn.
He's like, even in death, I couldn't get rid of these doggone squirrels.
Jeez. Could probably, I mean, you know what? Never mind. We got Los.
Let's talk to Los.
I'm sure Los probably doesn't have squirrels in Tampa. Maybe they has, alligators.
You know what Los has? Los has a cow.
Los does have a cow. I sent you the picture of the baby cow that was in the retention pond by my workplace.
Apparently, the baby cow died. That's unfortunate for the baby cow.
It is unfortunate, and it also lets me have a little sigh of relief that there's no alligator in that retention pond, because that cow would no longer be there. It'd be torn to pieces if it was any sort of reptilian activity going on there. But yeah, well, we knew the cow, the baby cow was dead because it wasn't moving.
Yes. Yes.
But you know, I really like my lakes to be decaffeinated. I'm here all week. Try the veal. Wait, no, don't do that. Don't do that.
Tip your waitress.
Tip your waitress.
Tip your waitress.
Yes. So let's start with this. Real Madrid, club champions of the world.
Well, I mean, they're hot and they're cold, and they get hot when they need to. And today they were hot. They needed to win. I mean, they were many points behind. Barcelona, still like 8 points behind, even after the win today. But they dominated as they should have. Had a brace of penalty kicks, but and Luka Modric still refuses to just fade away. The guy had an absolutely tremendous shot that went in the upper 90 on the far side. It was beautiful. It was a work of art. But yeah, I mean, they've got to win out. They can't lose anymore, and they got to hope that that Barcelona falters a little bit. And we still got to play Barcelona twice. Once, actually 3 times. We got to play them in the first and second leg of the semifinal of the Copa del Rey, and then we have the regular season return match. So we got quite a bit of football left, but right now it looks like it's Barca's league to win. They're the ones who are pretty much, they hold all the cards, and we can keep winning everything we got. But if they keep winning, also, you know, we're not going to catch them. So that's how that goes there.
Most Madridistas will tell you, though, it's all about that big ear trophy. So next week, Liverpool in the round of 16. Instead, Los Celtic, Liverpool not coming in there looking. Yes, they had a great result against Everton on Monday, but they're not coming into this tie looking all that dangerous. For those of you who are watching or listening and can't see this right now, Los has this cosmic background, and El Gato is creeping in. So it looked for a little bit like he was reaching out into the void, and then all of a sudden you see Alakazam, El Gato just appears and then fades in the background and then appears. So it's kind of hilarious. But as I was saying,
it's worth going on to YouTube and checking out for a moment.
It was a lot bit creepy, but I love it. Welcome, El Gato. It is good to see you as always.
As she knocks the mic.
Get mic down and then descends back into the black hole.
That's her tail right here.
Yeah. Los, Liverpool aren't coming in there looking like they're pulling up stumps. But let's be honest, it hasn't been the easiest go for Real Madrid. Where do you see this tie going?
Well, that's a very, very good question. I think of the two teams, the one that seems to be struggling least is Real Madrid. Liverpool is mid-table in the English Premier League. They've suffered some injuries. There has some guys come back from injuries that aren't playing at the caliber they once were. They lost Sadio Mane. There's a lot of things going wrong with Liverpool right now, and you just can't put it on one particular thing. It is a team sport. There's a number of things going wrong with them, and it just all kind of culminates into a mid-table season for them. And it's kind of, I guess, odd to see because we were used to seeing them play so well and for such a long time. But we've talked about this before. At least I remember myself saying at least once on this show that the teams that they put together are only really good together for about 4 years, maybe 5 years. You got to rotate. You got to bring in new blood if you want to stay competitive. That's just the nature of it. So that's just the nature of sport, especially this one.
All right, let's switch gears and let's talk about your other team, Spurs. We celebrated with you after the 1-0 victory over Man City. But the last 10 days haven't exactly been the prettiest.
You are correct, sir.
Yeah, it was 4-1 to Leicester City on Saturday. And then Brahim Diaz scored an early goal for Milan that sent Spurs back to London on the wrong side of a 1-0 deficit. What's going on?
Well, the 4-1 against Leicester is hard to explain because I watched it all unfold before my very eyes. What is happening with this team? We went up 1-0. We were looking good. We were looking solid. And it seemed like Leicester was doing all they could to give us the game. They were making simple mistakes, giving us the ball deep in their end. We didn't capitalize on some of their errors, and then Leicester got a couple of good breaks before the half, went up 2-1, and for some reason we didn't have any answer for them in the second half, and we ended up losing 4-1. Could have been 5-1. We had one of the Leicester players had a toenail offside, and they went ahead and called it back. But it was the players knew it was a sorry performance. They knew it was bad, and it's really bad when your coach doesn't talk to you after the match, and that's exactly what happened. Conte did not talk to the players after the match, and so the players knew it. Conte already knew that they knew what was up. He didn't have to talk to them. He knew they were professional enough to know that this was not a very good game, a very good performance at all. And so he didn't have to say a word. And get back to the training field. Let's go ahead and do it. And we ended up losing quite a few players. I think I sent we had 5 that did not play. 4 of them were injured. 1 was suspended for this match against AC Milan just yesterday. And that's quite a 5-a-side. I mean, we have Lloris in goal, we have Bentancur, all these great guys who can play, and it's a nice little 5-a-side. But they're all hurt, and that hurts us. We can't put the best team out there. But that said, we did put out 2 of the young guys, Oliver Skip and Pepe Sarr, and those guys seemed to gel pretty well. They seemed to command the midfield okay. The goal that was scored by AC Milan was a defensive error, first off, by World Cup winner Cuti Romero. So he made a defensive error and allowed AC Milan to press deep, cross the ball into the center. Now, I will say this, Forster, our goalkeeper backup for Lloris, made 2 really excellent saves back to back. But that second one didn't quite get the ball up over the bar. The ball went straight up in the air, and AC Milan just kept pressing, and the guy who scored ended up diving into the ball and diving into the goal along with it. It was, you got to say, if you're a forward, you like to see that sort of play. You like to see the never say die. You always keep pressing. Things can happen when you keep pushing to the goal, and that's what happened there. It was unlucky for us as a Tottenham fan to have that sort of thing happen, especially after 2 excellent saves by Fraser Forster. But that last one, had to save all 3 of them to keep us level at that time, but it didn't happen. So that was really the only real test that he had. A couple of shots maybe, but nothing really that stood out to me that these guys dominated, because they really didn't. It was pretty evenly matched. I wouldn't have been surprised to see it come up 1-1 or 0-0. That's what the feel that it had. But now we have to go back and play the second leg, and we have to win. And we need to win by 2. You got to win 2-1, or 2-0. Away goals don't matter. So
unless it's tied. But Los, yeah, I think you described the goal that was conceded very well. The thing that I would bring up was that goal was scored in the 7th minute,
right?
Which left you.
Well, that's us, man. That's what we do.
It left you 83 minutes to come back and find a goal, which
and we didn't find it.
You didn't find it.
We didn't find it.
Again, they had possession, they had shots. Couldn't, yet another game where you couldn't get the ball into a position where you could put the ball on net against the competition, even in the San Siro. And I know that's a place that is tough as all get out to play, but couldn't get the ball into the net when he needed to get the ball into the net. And this has become a reoccurring problem under Conte. You can have a game like you did against Manchester City, where you look like you could beat anybody in the world, and then a couple of days later, you go out and play AC Milan, And yeah, you go to San Siro. Again, I acknowledge that is a tough place to play. You can see one goal, and for massive stretches of the game, it doesn't look like you're actually going to be able to put the ball into a position where one of your shooters, your primary scorers, Son or Kane, can get the ball into the back of the net.
Yeah, well, that's what they're paid to do, and they haven't been successful. I will say there were a couple really good crosses by Sonny into the box to make something happen. Just there was no finish. I will also say I'm still confused why Richarlison rides Pine as much as he does. I would like to see him more out on the pitch. And he was a starter and a full-time player for Everton when he was with them. So I'm not sure why he's not getting more playing time. I know you got Sonny, you got Kane up front, and Kulusevski. Where are you going to put him? Well, you got to find a spot for him. You got to rotate him in there. And dare I say, probably the most unpopular opinion, but as a Spurs realist, maybe sub out Kane and put him Richarlison.
Wow. Stead. Let's drop the mic and walk off stuff. Los, you just said sub out Kane and put on Richarlison.
Dude, I've been saying Kane is a great striker. Okay, there's no doubt, but he's got no pace, and Richarlison does. And Richarlison has a way to sniff out goals, and he's got that bit of shithousery that I just love in a player, especially someone from South America. They play with that sort of attitude of shithousery, like Romero, and Eric Lamela when we had him. And all I kept thinking of, what if we had Eric Lamela and Couto Romero and Richarlison all playing on the pitch at the same time? Ooh, the shithousery. But that never is going to happen because Lamela's gone. But yeah, I've said before, Kane is good. There's no doubt, but he plays an awful lot. He's on the pitch all the time, and that's where he wants to be. He doesn't want to be off the pitch. Doesn't want to be on the bench. When we had him benched for a FA Cup match, he was sitting there bundled up, and you could see just a look in his eyes like, I want to be on that field. I want to be on the field. I want to be on the field. I get it. And as a player, that's what you want. But and many of the Spurs fans, they love to see Harry be successful, and we all do. We loved his success getting the most goals scored in the career of Tottenham. But it just seems like something's missing, and it might be his pace, a lack of pace, but he's not the same Harry Kane that he was a couple of years ago. And I wonder if maybe sub him off in the 75th minute, and let's see what the sparks lights a spark under him, or the offense, or everyone realizing, oh wait, Harry can have a seat. Oh, that means my job isn't secure either. I better kick it up a notch.
All right, from your lips to God's ear. Anyway, brother, I'm not even going to respond to that. I'm just going to leave it with what you said. It was great to talk to you, catch up a little bit on Real Madrid and La Liga, and a little bit on what Spurs is doing. So we'll get you back next week to talk a little bit more about both.
Well, you heard what's happening is there's the push by the Iranian American.
I wasn't even going to go into that because
it's there, and
it's there.
Everyone's saying, Enoch out, let's do it, let's move it, and of course they're not moving. My understanding is another 1.5 billion, and then they'll listen.
Yeah,
so,
I need that to be a little bit more concrete, and then we'll talk about it. But
yeah.
Anyway, brother, good to see you as always.
Rock on.
Have a good one. As you exist out in the cosmos.
Yeah, in the cosmos. See you later.
Stead. we gotta talk to this next brother. I don't know what you watched this weekend, but I know what I watched.
I was in Florida, or I was on a plane.
You
I was unable. I was unable to watch.
Uh-huh.
But it's gotta feel good to be in the northern UK right now. Especially because we didn't get a chance to talk about the biggest game that happened last weekend. So,
but so for those of you who are blissfully unaware, it is Six Nations time. I am not going to lie. This is one of my favorite annual tournaments, and I don't know if there is one that I like that much better. It is only 5 games. It is only about 7 weeks. But the intensity, everything. I love how it goes. I love everything about this tournament. And I've got to say, Stead, it is probably my favorite annual tournament to watch. Now, it has set up a lot differently than we had thought it was. We didn't talk last week. I had some stuff going on at home. It's fine. But Ireland went into Wales. Got the bonus point win. Shocker. Scotland. Go to Twickenham. Yet again. And get their second consecutive victory in England. And the bonus point for the 4th try. Then on Sunday last week, I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit surprised. Italy gave it to France. So we're going to fast forward a week.
Italy played hard. Look, I'm of the opinion Italy should be out. I'm like they played. I went back and watched that game. They played a hell of a game. Absolutely. Good on you, Italy.
So then we go to this Saturday last, the day before the Super Bowl. Big one. France comes into Ireland, and Ireland gets not only the win, but they get the bonus point win. It was close a little bit through the first half, but Ireland are able to pull it out. But then, Scotland again. Now, Warren Gatland's coaching Wales. He has led them to multiple Six Nations championships, but he only got there like a month and a half ago. Couldn't pull it off. Scotland get the bonus. So Scotland and Ireland are now the only 2 unbeaten teams in the Six Nations. Both of them sitting with the bonus points on 10 points. Ireland marginally ahead on goal differential. We got a week off, but then they don't play each other because Ireland's got Italy and Scotland's got Ireland. The fourth round. If everything holds, Scotland, Ireland to decide the Six Nations and possibly who could win the Grand Slam. And I say this as I welcome in our good Scottish friend, Celtic Cam. How goes it, sir? Did I set you up right?
Oh, yes. No, that was beautiful. I'm on top of the world right now. Absolutely incredible. The best start that Scotland's had in the Six Nations since I can remember. As you said, we're sitting up there with Ireland, the number 1 ranked team in the world. We've gone from 7th in the world to 5th in the world. We're now sitting above England, which I always love to see no matter where we are on the table. So an absolutely fantastic. I can't say anything bad about any of the games I've watched, to be honest, and I've watched them all so far. As Stead brought up, Italy. I've always in recent years been a proponent for maybe replacing Italy with a different nation, but Italy this year, okay, fine, they're not off to the best start, but they don't look bad. They don't actually look that bad. They look better than they've had in previous years. Capuzzo is looking fantastic. He's looking like a star. He's looking absolutely fantastic. He's the glue that's holding that team together right now, I think. So, good on Italy for coming out hot this year. I feel a little bad for them, but I'm on top of the world right now, and I cannot wait for that Ireland-Scotland game. But, I also have to be careful because as a Scotsman, I know where we'll usually fall is against Italy somehow. That's where we'll lose it. That's where we'll trip up knowing our luck. So I'm not going to get too ahead of myself here.
Gregor Townsend's got to be loving life right now.
Oh yeah, a man that shows no emotions. I've seen him show more emotions this Six Nations than any other combined Six Nations. He's on top of the world for sure. Him, Finn Russell, Matt Fagerson, Vandermeer, they're all sitting up there pretty right now.
So Finn Russell was epic this past weekend. I mean, everything good that happened with Scotland in that match, a lot of it came from Finn Russell.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I won't lie, Finn Russell and Stuart Hogg have a fantastic partnership. And seeing Stuart Hogg go out so early with that head injury assessment and then staying off the pitch got me a little worried. But that was quickly put to rest with how much of an impact that Finn Russell made on that game. He ran that game for the Scottish side. He ran that game into the ground for Wales and just tore them apart. Any play that was a big deal play, he had a hand in it somehow, whether it was setting it up or assisting for the try. So I think he's definitely top 3 best players in Six Nations right now for sure.
I had no idea who Vandermeer was before the first round, but I'm gonna watch him.
He's incredible. I remember last Six Nations, he was absolutely incredible. He was on the up and up, and he was the player that this Six Nations I've been most excited to see, and he has not let me down at all. He is just an absolute powerhouse.
So we're gonna talk, we're gonna switch a little bit. Cam, I don't know if you watched the Ireland-France game on Saturday. It was a lot. There were some absolute bananas tries, some hits. Instead, Cam, listeners, if you don't know who Uli Antonio is, you should look him up. I have never seen an actual mountain that moves. This cat goes 6'6" and he weighs 366 pounds.
Ooh.
That is absolutely mammoth.
That's a large bowling ball.
That way, it was a lot of force that hit one of the Ireland players. He's lucky that he got off with just a yellow card, not a red. But when he laid that, and it wasn't even it. I get it. It was a high tackle, but he was just standing there, and the guy ran into him. And what do you want him to do? There was one of the most spectacular athletic tries that I've ever seen scored in rugby, and we can debate as long as the day is whether he got his foot down before the ball he grounded the ball, or whether it was out of bounds. That was just a phenomenal all around game.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who wants to see rugby played at a high level and understand what we are talking about when we talk about the Six Nations and why we gush over it so much, please go watch the highlights of Ireland and France from this Saturday. It was just that good.
Well, Uini Antonio has been banned for 3 games too. Got a 3-week ban.
after this hit?
Yeah, they just handed it down a few hours ago.
Okay.
Yeah, it says 3 banned for illegal hit. So,
Oof.
but he's gonna miss 2 matches. He'll miss 2 matches.
Mhm.
So, but sadly, those 2 matches are going to be, it's the Six Nations. There's no gimmies, man. And I think Italy has already played France. They've already played each other. So, they got to play, it's Scotland and England. So,
Now benefit us.
it's sadly, it's like it'd be, Wales is struggling right now. Wales seem to beat themselves just as bad as Ireland beat them in the first week. I didn't see this past week's game. I haven't had a chance to really check them out, but they were on the line to get tries. I think 3 times they were right there and they couldn't punch the ball in, and ended up having a penalty and a turnover. And it was heartbreaking, really, especially for a team that played so well in the last Six Nations. They played so well. So it's sad to see them kind of get bit by the snake a little bit so far, but hopefully they can bounce back and at least be a bit more competitive, because they've gotten blown out. And I don't feel like the scores really reflected their play.
Yeah, I think you hit something important there, though. They're the number of fouls that they've gathered throughout the Six Nations competition so far. You're absolutely right. They've been shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah, a lot of bad penalties. Yeah,
continuously simple mistakes. Whether it's high tackles, just
But even like batting the ball, look like moving the ball forward. They'll have a back pass and then they won't catch it. It'll be batted forward, and then you pick it up, and you can't do that, and then you end up turning the ball over again. But even I think they had a throw-in intercepted. So it's a lot of mistakes that you're seeing them play with. That's really not indicative of probably their quality.
Yeah, and that's what's held us up in the past too. Previous to this Six Nations, Scotland were known as just the team that would just shoot themselves in the foot with fouls. And this competition, one of the first things I've noticed, and I don't think there's any coincidence to the success that Scotland's having so far in the Six Nations. Granted, we're only a few games in, but we're not getting nearly as many fouls as we've had in the last 2 previous Six Nations games. So I think there is something to be said about that for both Wales and Scotland.
I was looking for pictures of James Lowe's try against France. Yeah. Still a work of art. I don't know. So we go into the next set of pictures. Ireland, Italy, Scotland have France. We had the opportunity because we have 2 weeks came before these come up. But how are you feeling about it right now?
France is a little scary, obviously. Second best in the world, not too far behind Ireland in terms of their ranking. So this is definitely going to be an uphill battle, especially being played in France. It's a hard stadium to play at. I mean, I'll be honest, all the Six Nations stadiums, if you're playing away, is a hard environment to play in. So this is, I think, going to be arguably our toughest game so far. England, I knew was going to be tough, but we sailed over that. France's loss to Ireland, I'm hoping has a bit of an effect on their sort of morale. However, it could swing the other way, I mean, Dupont he's a prolific player. He knows how to manage the team much in the same way that Finn Russell does. He's got that leadership capability, and he's still young. So I think we're not only going to see him succeed in this competition, but for years to come. But he's definitely going to be someone that I'm going to be watching closely in that game play against us for sure.
All right, let's switch gears and talk a little bit about Scottish football, not rugby football, but football. Okay, I gotta ask you a serious question. How's going on with Celtic? They've let in 2 goals in the last 2 games.
I know
that's more than they have conceded in the last month.
I know.
Now,
but
but they have beaten everybody, multiple goals. other than everything has been 4-5-3
Mhm.
to nothing. So this past week, 4-1 over St. Mirren. What was it? 4-1 over St. Mirren, 5-1 over St. Johnson.
5-1 over St. Mirren, 4-1 St. Johnson.
Johnson. So I got them a little bit mixed up, but this is just where they are right now in Scotland.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's wild. I mean, ignoring the 9-point gap between us and Rangers right now, the goal differential alone is just absolutely wild. I mean, we are so far ahead. I mean, I think it's got to be in the 20s or 30s at this point in time, in terms of goal differential. I mean, it has to be ridiculous, because as you say, we're just slotting goals past teams at this point in time. It's just Angie is just running the team beautifully. I mean, that even looking at the team in terms of who's scoring the goals, it's hard to pick out someone above the rest because they're all playing so well. Rio Hatate, Kyogo, O'Reilly slotted into the team beautifully. Taylor has come up out of nowhere. So the team is just holding really well together at this point in time. I think the league is ours to lose ultimately.
so Stead, I want to give you the goal differentials in Scotland. Celtic with a goal differential of 60, Rangers on 35, Hearts on 10, and then Livingston on -7. Is absolutely insane. Like the Celtic are scoring goals for fun. Oh, and let's also mention, by the way, that Celtic just turned Nelly Bout a $2 million after fees profit on Giorgio Giammakis as they sold him to Atlanta United.
Yeah, I think that's a big move. I'm not
I
sure.
think it's a good move for both teams.
Yeah, my worry is I don't think we fully used him as we should have. I think we could have gotten more out of him and sold him for a higher ticket price, to be honest. I really do. I mean, any profit is good profit, obviously, but I just wonder if we could have waited till the end of the season, seen him blossom a bit more, and sold him to a higher profit to a team like Atlanta United.
There was a little bit of a bidding war in between them and a team, Atlanta United and a team in Japan. Ultimately, I think it ended up at about $4.25 million to get
That's what I
him.
saw. Yeah.
Atlanta United happened just sold Joseph Martinez, who was their talismanic center forward,
Right.
and leading goal scorer. Now, you got a team that's only been in existence for about 5 years, so anybody who scores the most goals over a couple course of years is going to be your leading scorer. I was just asked not even about an hour ago on the other show I do about Giammakis coming to Atlanta United. I think it has the potential to be a good pickup for them. You know, it's expensive, the contract and stuff like that. My big concern about him is I've never really actually seen him play 90 minutes. What I've seen of him is he either plays 60 and gets subbed out for the last 30, or he's on the bench for the first 60 and then he only plays the last 30. So I'm wondering, like, do you have the stamina to play 90 minutes for 38 games a season?
Yeah, and that's the weird thing. I think because when he was playing in the Netherlands, he would go games playing a full 90 minutes. It wasn't unheard of when we brought him in. I, to be honest, was expecting to see him starting and play the full 90 minutes more often. However, he didn't have a bad career at Celtic. I would not say that at all. I think he was maybe a little inconsistent. And I think that maybe over stamina is kind of what prevented him always playing the 90 minutes. He kind of ebbed and flowed with how well he played. He'd go on streaks for 2-3 games, play fantastically, and then have a dip of 2 or 3 games, or a game or two, and then, be on the bench for the next 2-3 games, so to say. So I think Atlanta, I'd be interested to see how he plays there, if he holds that kind of slight inconsistency, and as you say, if he does get to play the full game, or if he comes on as a last 30 sub, or stays on as a 60-minute starter.
No, the expectation for him at Atlanta United is you're going to start games and you're going to play the full 90.
Well, that might be good for him. That might be honestly what he needs. It could have also been a hit to his ego, so to say, not to be able to, and that could have been part of the inconsistency issue that he had at Celtic, because people need to remember he was the highest scorer in the Netherlands for VV Venlo when we picked him up, which it's not a league to poo-poo at all. There's some good teams there, Ajax, PSG, things like that. So he does have that potential. So if he's going to be put in to play a full 90 minutes, I'll be really interested to see how he does this season.
I mean, that's probably one of the biggest transfers that has happened in MLS. It's been a quiet transfer season. Now this one took days after transfer window closed for it to happen, but very interesting to see. I think he could be a very, very good MLS player. I think it's a chance for him to score a bunch of goals, go potentially back over to another team in Europe. And I love that Celtics still have a sell-on clause in this contract, where if he does leave Atlanta United, they're still going to make a couple of bucks off of it. All right, before we get you out of here, there's no Six Nations this week. They're taking a weekend hiatus. But what are you looking for in Scotland as we get ready?
So 2 big games I'm going to be watching are Celtic Aberdeen. With Aberdeen, they've got a guy they picked up this season, Miofsky, who's the 3rd highest goal scorer in the SPFL right now. Aberdeen is starting to kind of rise a little bit again here, so I'll be interested to see how they play against the powerhouse that is Celtic right now. And then Rangers play Livingston at the Tony Macaroni Arena, which, as we know, is
the Pasta Boys.
The Pasta Boys, and at the Pasta Bowl, the only artificial pitch in the SPFL right now, which always gives Livingston that additional advantage. And Rangers have been looking a little bit shaky recently, especially after that narrow 3-2 win over Partick Thistle. So those are the 2 big games that I'm going to be watching this weekend. And actually Motherwell Heart of Midlothian could actually be pretty good too. Motherwell did just get trounced by, I believe it was Wraith Rovers in the Scottish Cup, so I think they'll be coming back with fury. I'm playing a Heart of Midlothian that's been kind of somewhat average recently. So those 3 games are what I'm keeping an eye on this weekend.
All right, for those of you who decide that you might want to watch a Scottish Premier League game, it's actually Motherwell Hearts that will be streaming very early in the morning, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Paramount Plus. I would like to thank Paramount Plus for occasionally putting games on. I would like you to choose your games better. Anyway, Cam, great to talk to you. Great to see you as always. We'll get you back on when we do this again next week.
Sounds good. Thank you, boys. Have a great night.
You too. Steve, we are going to go from Scotland into the continent. You know what time this is? This can only mean one thing. It's Byron Robb.
Gents, how goes it? I miss you all.
I miss you too. I'm not 100% sure what shirt is this that you're wearing this evening?
So this is the limited edition Olive in York Grant Wall kit.
Okay.
So all 100% of the proceeds goes towards a charity that his wife Celine has. I forget the name of the charity, but I bought it first run. It got so popular that there's a second run. So go get it before it's gone.
All right. Can you for anybody who may not be looking at you, can you actually describe this kit so that they might have an idea?
So the badge, it's not really a badge, it's just like, like piece of cloth. I mean, like it goes blends in with the cloth, but it's a silhouette of Grant's profile from the side. And then on the shoulders is the rainbow colors because he was a big advocate for gay rights across the world. And he was most recently famous, besides passing away, wearing the rainbow shirt to a match in the World Cup at Qatar. He got held up for an hour, then he was allowed to go in after a bunch of hassle. But yeah, his Grant's brother is gay. That's why the cause is very important to him. So yeah, I had to buy this kit. Normally I don't buy kits that kind of have like a theme to it that are not clubs, but this one was kind of special for a good cause. So I decided to wear it. I enjoy it. I actually wore it, a couple weeks ago, but we were not here. We were on hiatus.
So yes, very attractive looking kit. If you're looking at him, it's a black body with the rainbow flags on either shoulder. Very pretty with the silhouette of Grant Wall. All of them proceeds go to a good cause. Yes. All right. So we're into the Bundesliga. We're into the UCL. Let's talk a little bit about the Champions League. 2 teams in Germany have played. 2 teams in Germany have won. 2 teams in Germany have won 1-0. And it is a tale of slightly different matchups. Bayern went on Tuesday. Bayern went to the Parc des Princes in France. We were able to see off the challenge from PSG, run out of there 1-0 with the goal advantage. Today, Borussia Dortmund hosts Celtic. Todd Bowley is taking pictures of the cop at the Vault Stadium and looking at it with a little bit of longing in his face before his team somehow succumbed to a 1-0 defeat against the Yellow Wall. Which one do you want to tackle first?
We can talk. We'll go in chronological order. Let's talk about the Bayern game first.
All right.
This game was tough because Mbappe did not start. He was hurt a few weeks ago. After the match, he said that he wished he probably didn't have to play. He gave him 30 minutes, nearly scored a goal, but the VAR overturned the goal due to an offside. I think Bayern played really well here. They were unfortunate to only get 1 goal because they had plenty of chances. Hit the woodwork a lot. And they really showed their might here. Messi and Neymar, for the most part, were quiet. One of the biggest downfalls here that Benjamin Pavard got 2 yellows. So he's and the second yellow was needed because Messi was going in near the edge of the box, and good things happen normally when that happens. So he took the L, but which stinks because Bayern are really decimated on the back line. I think Nagelsmann really blew it here. I would have taken Benjamin Pavard out. I would have put Daley Blind in and play a little bit more defensive. So this way, Blind didn't have to run and cover back, cover the racetrack that is Neymar and Mbappe. But this was a good game. Paris Saint-Germain played a 16-year-old in the midfield, which is, they normally don't bring these youth products up, which is kind of interesting. But he played well. I forget the gentleman's name.
Zaire, I think, was his last name.
That's correct. He played well. but Donnarumma had to do better on the ball. Kingsley Coman once again scored against PSG. As you remember, he scored in the final versus PSG in 2020. He celebrated that goal. This goal he did not celebrate at, which is interesting enough. So it was like he totally forgot to, like, in the final, like, you're not supposed to quote unquote celebrate against a former club. But regardless, Kingsley Coman has been on fire lately. He's been the best winger Bayern has had, partially because he doesn't go to Fashion Week like Serge Gnabry did. But that's another story. So Bayern are really, I think, have full confidence here going back to Munich in a few weeks' time, because I think they could really do a number here on Paris. You know, the crowd's going to be into it, and they're going to play really well. And you know, I think, and also the one good thing about this matchup, I mean, this match specifically, this the first leg, because Kimmich got a double yellow in the Bundesliga. He was last week. He was suspended, so he got an extra rest. And for those of you who know, Joshua Kimmich does not get benched. When he plays a full 90 in tournament for club and country. So he needed a rest, which is good for him, and I think it proved him well here.
Instead, if a team that starts Choupo-Moting as a center forward makes it past the last 16 of the Champions League, I'm gonna laugh. But somehow this is reality that exists with Bayern Munich right now. Like, I can't explain how this team that I have watched draw 2 games that they should have won easily can go to Paris and win 1-0 and look like they probably should have scored more. I just don't get it. Like, what is it with this team that you can look so confused 1 minute in the Bundesliga, Rob, and then look like, all right, we can win the Champions League just walking away.
Well,
I just think this shows you the ineptitude of Ligue 1. That's what I think it is. I mean, really. I mean, let's because you're giving me an opportunity to dump on Ligue 1, which I always fully take. Our brief Ligue 1 correspondent, very, very brief, did send me a text.
Wait, we had one?
Yeah, well, he never came on the show. He would load up our chat, but he never actually came.
Oh, I was wondering because
Yes, well,
I know I forget a lot about stuff, but
this one was so short-lived. I totally understand why you would forget, and the fact that I no longer am at the same institution where I was acquainted with this individual. It's not surprised that we would kind of like, sometimes you got to just keep on moving. But he reappeared. Of course, he would reappear a day that City plays Arsenal because he's also a City fan. But apparently, there was an explicit, inappropriate video shot during the Nice-Lille game, and club files official complaint over movie damage. Now, this movie was of the Getafe persuasion that was apparently shot in the stands during the match. So,
rock on.
Yes. So, it's not surprising to me that a league where things like this make it into the media can't play in Champions League. And the only recent season we can say that a Ligue 1 actually had a positive showing in Champions League, let's not forget that was the COVID year when there were no fans in the stands and everything was, you have to dismiss that. Not dismiss the whole year, but let's not forget that league is going to continue to have poor showings, and you can see a team. It just shows you the Bundesliga is so much more competitive than Ligue 1. It just is.
Well, the Bundesliga is more competitive. We know this. Even before the COVID year, where PSG, with nobody in the stands, made it to the finals,
Mm-hmm.
and lost against Bayern Munich.
And there was another team that
But-
semied. I forgot what they.
That was Monaco.
It wasn't Monaco. It wasn't Monaco. It was Lyon. Yes, it was another.
All right,
one of their
Bayern beat Lyon. I remember that.
Yeah, Bayern
Lyon.
beat Lyon, but even before that, remember, Monaco went on a run when they did have Kylian Mbappe.
Yeah.
And when they did have Yuri Tielemans.
And you've seen Marseille have a good showing in Champions League as well. You have seen that. But again, I believe Marseille was the last team to actually win the Champions League, and that was 20 years ago. So
well, you're also saying like we can respect that Ajax does a good job out of the Dutch league, but when was the last time they won the Champions League?
Yeah, but you could fit the entire country of the Netherlands inside of Paris. So I'm not saying. I'm just saying. To go back to your point though, Mike, I'm not. This just isn't surprising to me that Bayern could go into Paris and win. Even after poor showings, and not poor showings, but even after looking somewhat undefined in.
Maybe then, Rob, I'm suffering from the thing that you know best is your worst enemy, and the thing that you know best is the team that you watch. And having watched Bayern as much as I have, why should I be surprised at how they turned out against PSG? Because I was a little bit surprised that A, they were able to defend as well as they did, and B, that they were able to come up with that goal when they needed to.
The biggest problem is that with PSG is they don't have a cohesion. Like they're the front three, which is the big front three, right? The big three of Mbappe, Neymar, and Messi,
who don't track back.
Who don't track back, right? But that's and Messi specifically. And he's allowed to. It's fine. He's won a World Cup, so he's allowed to rest for a little bit. But the biggest problem too is old man Sergio Ramos, who has not played like he did when he was with Real, and the midfield is totally disjointed. There's just no cohesion there. It's like the front three and then everybody else. Donnarumma is he's a good keeper, but he should have stayed at Milan. I'm sorry, he had a chance to be the next Buffon, and he blew it by being a mercenary. But there's just no there's no chemistry there at all. They play well. They're going to play well against opposition because, the front three is going to carry them. But the problem is when the front three can't carry you, there's nobody else. There's no answers. And what Bayern play is they play a more compact team game together. You see the movements, between all parts of the midfield and the forwards, and they track back, and Kingsley Coman was fantastic on tracking back, and after one season, when we were yelling at Leroy Sané, because I'm like, look, this is not City, you have to track back here. He learned to track back. The biggest, and then Choupo-Moting, he's a serviceable player, but the thing is that he lets, because he is a traditional number 9, but doesn't have the lethality that Lewandowski had. He's allowed the wingers and the attacking midfielders like Musiala, for example, to really do the damage here. And he does it well. He knows his role. He sort of gets there, gets out of the way, and he occupies space when he needs to. And he had a couple of chances here to score. Once again, the team that Bayern have where they play together is, they're going to win a lot of times, and obviously you're going to get moments where Messi's going to have magic and Neymar's going to have magic and Mbappe's going to have magic. And, that sometimes that could carry you. That could be enough. But when it's not your day, you need to rely on the rest of the team, and Paris doesn't have the rest of the team to do that. They're just not good enough everywhere else. And to get a 1-0 victory on the road, I know the away goals don't count anymore, really, but to win on the road, and now going back home, in a few weeks' time, which, by the way, Mbappe will be fully healthy by that time. So, that's going to be a different game here. He will play, he will start. Bayern are going to be really glad to get out of there with a win. And it should have been three goals more. So they're full of confidence here heading into the Allianz soon enough.
Stud. I want to be Eric Choupo-Moting when I grow up.
You should.
You want to talk about a dude who has managed to fail up?
No. So I'm sorry. Do you remember the form that Choupo was in before the World Cup? Choupo-Moting was on a roll, man.
But how does a dude who scores 5 goals and 30 appearances for Stoke get a move to Paris Saint-Germain, where yes, he does a little bit better. He scores 6 goals in 31 games.
He saved them, by the way, in the Champions League. You remember that?
But then somehow that translates to a move to Bayern Munich.
Which,
Like,
how
do you fail up like that? What is it about him?
What I've been told, he's a great locker room presence. I know it's really cliche, but man, people love him in the locker room, man. And then he was a faithful backup to Lewandowski last season. Took up minutes when he had to. Then now he's played a bunch. He started a bunch, and he's doing what he follows the game plan, and people love him. Nice guys finish first sometimes. I'm sorry,
You've got to be that dude. But you want to talk about failing up?
Yeah.
I want to have his career trajectory.
Now, here's the thing, though. The Choupo-Moting apparently now he's doing pretty darn decent. Now he's up for a contract, and Bayern are kind of not in a position really to give out a multi-year contract, but Choupo-Moting is looking for a multi-year deal. So the question is, do you make that move, and potentially start looking for your number 9? Because now, if you sign Choupo-Moting for two more years, and then you try to get a number 9, you're telling Choupo, hey, we're going to sign you for 2 years, but you're going to go back to a backup. So,
at the same time, his goal to game ratio is not good enough to justify what he's asking for if he's asking for anything more than sort of a baseline price contract for a number 9 of his stature. So don't get greedy, my brother.
Yeah.
Take what you can get.
Sure.
All right, bro. Rob, great to see you and great to talk to you.
Oh, we didn't talk about Dortmund. You don't want to talk about Dortmund?
Oh, well, you know what? Actually, let's bring in Chelsea Mike because he's on the opposite side of this. So we can talk about this match between Chelsea and Borussia Dortmund and the Champions League that was played out. Apparently, Chelsea had 9,000% possession and 500 shots on goal, but somehow still managed to lose 1-0. Mike, let me start by saying I feel your pain. I too am suffering after Sunday and the Eagles loss. You know what? Big virtual hugs.
Virtual hug, but I've got to say the refereeing decisions this weekend kind of ruined the weekend for me.
Yes, there were some really awful refereeing decisions all the way around. But let's talk about today. Mike, I gotta wonder what style of play is Graham Potter going for? Because I really did not see it today.
Yeah, because you watched City and Arsenal for the first half.
I watched them both.
But what he's trying to do is move the ball quickly through the gears to set up sharp attacks. And you could see that today, and it worked. That's why they got faster. That's why they got younger. That's why they brought in Mudryk and Felix. That's why, they did what they were supposed to do today with one really, really large exception, and that's finish the ball. Other than that, they were, it's piercing attacks. It's high style play. Clever passes, piercing passes, passes that come from places you don't expect. That's why they brought in Enzo.
But I feel like
I see it. I see what he's trying to do now, and I like it. It's exciting. I'm excited to be a Chelsea fan again, but I'm also incredibly frustrated because you see the visions and you don't see the results.
So is this a situation where he doesn't have enough of his players in, despite the money that's been spent, to make it work up and down the pitch? Because I can see Enzo trying to make these passes, but again, there's nobody to receive it.
I think they need. I think they need an almost like Alexander Mitrovic type striker, to be there to be successful. And it wouldn't work. But like the perfect guy is Lukaku, who's on loan away and probably not coming back. I don't, outside of that, because Havertz is good. He's like a 9.5, 10, though, is his position, and they need a 9. But I don't know, Mendy has to come back and be the goalie he was, or they need another goalie. Outside of that, no, I don't think so. I think they have all the players. They had success today. I mean, they had 15 shots in the second half. They had all the opportunities that they were set up to do, and they just didn't execute the finishing. It's a question of the player's execution. So now he's got to go to training and like really, really work on that.
Rob?
You know, Coble just had a fantastic year. I'm sorry. Look. Seven saves, and the last save was probably one of the better ones. I forget who shot the ball for Chelsea. Mike, you could tell me who it was. But man,
It was Enzo.
and yeah, I think Schlotterbeck had a great game too. Emery Chan came back from nowhere to have a decent game. Julian Brandt as well was dangerous, when he had to be. And I think and look, Mike's right here, and we all know Chelsea were unfortunate to lose this game. I mean, they had so many shots on target. They played well, and Dortmund just held on, and they scored one breakaway goal by Adeyemi, which was fantastic, by the way. Beautiful, wonderfully done. Who could have been, and like I said before, to all the EPL fans out there, you could have had him for cheaper, but you had to spend the Boldy bucks or the Qatari money or whatever you got to spend, because you had to burn cash somehow. But no, this kid's a good one to have, and but look, 1-0 in Dortmund. Good result, obviously, and in keeping Chelsea to on a clean sheet on Chelsea is good, but man, Chelsea, if they play again like at Stamford Bridge like they did today, they're gonna win like 4-1, 4-0, because man, John Felix, I think, did well as well. Reece James is dangerous. Look, I think Reece James is growing up before our eyes, to be one of the top fullbacks here. But in a story, I think Dortmund is interesting. They've been on this streak. They've had the most points since the start of the year. They've just been fantastic. And I think a part of that is Sebastian Haller coming back. And he's currently in remission from his cancer. And putting in solid shifts. I think the team works so much better when he's there, as opposed to Modeste or Malin or anybody else they try to throw out there. Sebastian Haller is the guy. Mokoko, I know Mokoko's out for a few weeks, which is awful for them. So Haller's going to take up most of the time. But I think he's more of a traditional striker that they need, and thus I think the team is really up their spirits since he's come back, and he showed on the pitch, they did well here, and the crowd was really into it. So into it that Todd Bowley had to take a picture and some video of it, and just wishes he had that Stamford Bridge. No offense, Mike. But no, Chelsea have every reason to be confident that they could go back home and advance to the next round because they were really good today.
All right, Mike, how confident are you feeling about Chelsea at this point? You talked about, you feel what they're doing. You feel confident. You're actually excited to be a Chelsea fan again. Where do you sit on what this season is going to look? The rest of this season is going to look like for Chelsea.
I mean, I think it's going to be an improvement, but man, does this team feel snake bitten? I mean, that they should have won, or should have at least had a late penalty against West Ham. Well, frankly, they should have won. But again, the finishing wasn't good enough. But it feels like they're just they're snake bitten. But I will say this: I think a lot of Dortmund sort of offensive finesse in the first half. I was sitting there watching that game saying, man, if N'Golo Kante was there, these breakouts wouldn't be happening.
But he's not.
But he'll be back next month. So I think that's going to be a big help, a fuel to that team. I think it's better that Chilwell is back. I mean, the problem is these guys, Sterling, Pulisic, are going to start to come off of injury. And what do you do with them? I mean, they're not better than the players that have been out there recently for Chelsea. They're new acquisitions. So how do you keep that locker room together? They've been finding a way for Ziyech into the side. And he looked pretty good today. He's looked better. He looks better, I think, with faster pieces around him. But, I think, I still don't think they're going to be top four. I think they have the talent to overcome the likes of Fulham and Brighton, maybe even Tottenham, but I don't think luck's on our side this year.
All right. Well, gentlemen, I got to wrap this up. It's getting late already. So, instead, it's been a lot of fun. Got through a little bit of Tottenham and La Liga. We talked Six Nations.
And we strategically avoided discussing the Arsenal Man City game, which I'm more than happy about. We're in a bit of a slump right now. This is very typical. So I'm not gonna
if you want to talk about it, I will. Otherwise, I'm just going to leave.
We are wrapping this up. Hopefully,
white knuckles over there at Arsenal.
Hope.
White knuckles for what? For the championship or to?
I'll say this. I'm just gonna say this.
For the title.
This is what I'm gonna say. More people who were not Arsenal fans believe that Arsenal had a shot at winning the league this year than people who are Arsenal fans.
Mm-hmm.
So it's funny when I hear people who aren't Arsenal fans make the comments, because it's like, well, it's not annoying because we weren't expecting to win the league. So saying what you could, but I will say what's frustrating is that you're still seeing that this is a squad that is still immature, young, has more players that need to probably move on, and that we are not there yet. We're not there yet. But there's a silver lining. There's still a silver lining. They still have a shot.
But they have a massive shot. And
don't forget, we played one less game than City. And
one less game.
We have a shot. So I can be down right now because look, we haven't won yet this month. We haven't won in February. You had a bad call against Brentford, but even then, I mean, they should have won that game by more goals. They didn't. They didn't win. Bottom line, they didn't win. Haven't won this month. They do this every year. Usually this knocks us back into sixth. So the fact that they're still in second place, tied for first with a game in hand, still a good shot. So I am not writing this team off yet. I still think there's a legit chance they can win the league. And it'll be fun to watch the rest of this season.
I think even they should still challenge whether they win or not remains to be seen. Every team is going to go through this where you have a patch. Some teams are going to worry more than others. As a United supporter, I really, really sincerely worry about when we reach that inconsistency in the latter half of the season, right? Like we had a bad patch at the beginning of the season. It was really, 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 really bad. Like after those first 2 weeks, I thought we would be battling with Everton for relegation, but that hasn't been the case. Everton, Arsenal, we're going to drop some points this year.
It's bound to happen. It's bound to happen.
It's happened in the last couple of weeks. City have not proven consistent. What they have proven is, yeah, we can get up for games like that, but we're also going to drop points against Fulham, Crystal Palace, Aston Villa, teams like that. They still have more of those games to play than they do games against the top six. So there's still the possibility.
I kind of feel like City does this every year, though.
It's a little bit different this year insofar as this is more like the Leicester season, where a lot of teams that we expected to be consistent throughout the season have been consistent, but only in their inconsistency. If I told you that we would be into the last 15 games of the season, so basically, if you want to, in the last third of the season, and Chelsea would be in 10th and Liverpool would be in 9th, and they would look like 9th and 10th place teams, would you have believed me? And if you had, who would you have said was going to win the championship?
Yeah, probably City or Liverpool. Or
Well,
not Liverpool. City, it would have just been City. The answer would have been City.
Well, they haven't looked like they've been pulling up stumps. And
No,
so
I'll agree with you that the City this year doesn't look like an all-encompassing force that's just going to come in and blow you away. But I do think they do this every year, and we always, I swear, every year, is Pep's heart in it anymore? Does he care?
And they got a little bit of bonding material off of the charges that were filed and stuff like that. So we're going to see how long this bump lasts.
Well, we'll see if they lose those 15 points too, because that's a thing.
Well, that is the thing. But on the flip side, Stead, I think we saw the naivete of Arsenal tonight.
Yeah, but Arteta's assessment of the squad though was exactly right though. You know, they lost the game. They just lost it. They didn't look bad,
but
they
these
lost
are
the game. But,
these are
yeah.
2 games that I know of this season where they have lost games. Early against Manchester United, and this one against Manchester City. In both cases, I think they probably had the better team, but lost. And some of that was on the tactical setup. A lot of it was on to decisions that players made when they were on the field.
Yeah.
And
the players lost the game today. I mean, I really felt like the players they did bad decisions and it was, but again, I do think that they're still feeling intimidated when they play against top squads. I do. They look intimidated.
they look like they're trying to do too much.
Yeah, it's like they have imposter syndrome and they're trying to prove that they belong, and they end up outthinking themselves and play like and play like you would expect a young team to play who haven't been there. So it's frustrating. It's frustrating
But it's not necessarily their young
But
players that I feel like they're playing that. I think it's actually more their veterans.
what I'm getting at though is those veterans though that are there have never been in this position before. Not with this squad. They've never been there. So it's Granit Xhaka, look, man, you're having a good
He
year.
was bad he
was bad. But also, I mean, it's just like kind of what Los was saying earlier about the limitations of Harry Kane. We all know the limitations of Granit Xhaka. We all know. And it was only a matter of time before he started to get more exposed. And I think Arteta was wise to bring him back, but Arteta also knows that's not your long-term solution, which is why he's been hunting after midfielders so hard. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
All right, gentlemen.
I'm tired.
That's
I want another beer.
Yeah, that's a perfectly fine way to wrap this up. So, gentlemen, it has been good. We covered a little bit of Spurs and La Liga with Los. We got into Six Nations and Celtic and the Scottish Premier League with Cam. Talked a little bit of the UCL, Bayern, and the Bundesliga with Rob, and then got on to Chelsea with Mike. Ended up with a little bit about Arsenal and Manchester City. But gentlemen, it has been a lot of fun. So for the cast of the Too Many Guys Soccer Show, with special thanks to Los, Celtic Cam, Byron Rob, and Chelsea Mike, thank you. We did all right. And especially producer Stead, who keeps his trains running on time. I almost forgot that bit. But yeah, gentlemen, we did all right this week. We'll do better next week. So I'm Mike for Too Many Guys Soccer Show. Have a good week.